What's up, Internet? It's your boy Big Boss Dog from Knives&Snipes, and today we are talking about the top 5 hardest bosses in Cuphead. Just like last time, I am not basing this list off of any statistic of the boss, not their health or attack or anything like that. I'm just basing it off of my own personal preference and what I feel makes a boss hard. And finally, this list is ordered from least to greatest, meaning number 5 is the least hardest boss, number 1 is the hardest boss. With that out of the way, let's jump right in at number 5. In 5th place, we have Hilda Berg from Threatenin' Zeppelin. Besides a super short tutorial-esque level, Hilda Berg is your first experience with actually using the plane. The game is throwing a brand new mechanic at you, and I think that's what makes her incredibly hard the first time you play her. Definitely one of the hardest bosses in Inkwell Isle 1. But it's not just when you meet her that makes her hard, it's what she's all about. Super fast projectiles that fly straight out of her mouth, a tornado that'll chase you, and mini zeppelins that shoot 4 to 1 pellet, trying to trap you in a corner, make her extremely frustrating. And that doesn't even cover her transformations. If you're playing on regular, her first transformation will be a bull, and you can only shoot him if you're standing straight in front of him. The only issue is, he attacks straight in front of you. After that, she can transform into Cupid here, who shoots an arrow straight ahead with 3 heat-seeking stars, or she'll transform into 2 goddess-esque beings who throw balls at your face that shoot pellets. I don't even know. Once you beat all of her transformations and enter her final phase, that's when things really get annoying. As you're about to see, she transforms into a gigantic moon that covers up at least half the screen. Then comes super annoying stars that fly horizontally across the entire screen, restricting your movement, and then 2 different UFOs come with 2 different ways to avoid. There's a lot of things you have to learn in this boss fight that's going to be hard for your first aerial level. Now, she's only 5th place on my list because I do feel there are bosses with harder things that you need to grasp in order to beat them, and because once you unlock the bombs and come back to her, she's actually a lot easier. But for your first impression of aerial levels, she is a very, very difficult boss. Hilda Berg from Threatenin' Zeppelin is the 5th hardest boss in Cuphead. Now, let's see who got the 4th spot. In 4th, we have Cala Maria from High Seas Hijinks. If you thought Hilda Berg was a headache, then this boss is a migraine. The screen is constantly busy, whether it's this maze of floating pufferfish you have to avoid, or her shooting ghosts at you, or both at the same time, you are always moving around. Not to mention, she has a ridiculously diverse moveset, making it seem like she has an answer for everything. You never want to fly too low on the screen because you could get hit by the turtle, or the horse could push you back up, or you could get hit with a pufferfish. You never want to fly too close to her as you could get hit with the ghosts, or the redfish, or the bluefish. You never want to do anything in this boss fight. But that's only her first phase. During her second phase, they introduce another brand new mechanic that you've never seen and will never see again. Freezing in mid-air. Then they decide to couple that with the ridiculous amount of pellets flying at you at once, making sure the player is highly, highly annoyed. Then once you're used to getting frozen in mid-air over an ocean and they feel like you've been annoyed with it enough, you move on to the final phase of this boss, which is the exact same thing, but in a cave. They restricted the amount of safe space in the level, added stagnant obstacles in the middle of it, and then projectiles that float up and down. And she still freezes you. If you haven't played this level before, it will be highly annoying, and it's even worse on Expert. The short freeze duration is the only reason she's 4th, otherwise she would have been 3rd. But instead, I put... In 3rd place, we have Phantom Express from Railroad Wrath. Now, if we took all of the bosses from Railroad Wrath and put them on solid ground, this fight would not be hard. It wouldn't even be close to hard. What makes this fight hard is that the ground hurts you, and you can only stand on 1/3 of the screen at any given time on this tiny, tiny platform there. The only way to move this platform into a different position is to either parry it or have a yellow object fall down on top of it. This mechanic, and a majority of the bosses you touch hurting you, is what restricts your movement to a very small section of the screen, and that is what makes this hard. That's what makes it very, very hard. But if you take this away, most of the bosses have ridiculous lag, and most of the ghosts and other objects that you can hit would not be a problem, which is why I'm only placing it on number 3. Not to mention, this is an Inkwell Isle 3 boss, meaning you should have almost everything in the game unlocked, so you can craft, mix, and match anything you need to figure out how to beat this boss with your own personal skill level. The final phase of the boss can be a little tricky, but once you learn that you just have to parry his tail and then shoot the slot that opens up, it's not that hard. Essentially, it's the combination of a small space to walk on that can only be moved by pinks and parries, and bosses that hurt when you touch them that makes this boss the third hardest. If the bosses weren't so slow, and we had more of the final phase, they might have been higher up on the list. The Phantom Express is the third hardest boss in Cuphead. Now let's see who's the second. In second place, we have Grim Matchstick from Fiery Frolic. You first meet this boss at the end of Inkwell Isle 2, meaning you don't have everything unlocked. So if you didn't already get Roundabout and Lobber, you're gonna have a bad time. His first phase, he'll shoot some lasers directly at you, and then he'll shoot some meteorites in a loop-de-loop pattern. And sometimes he'll try to sneak attack you with his tail. Honestly, I never found the first phase that hard. What makes the boss hard is that there's only a small section of platforms you can jump on, otherwise you fall to your death. During his second phase, he opens up his mouth and releases a bunch of little flame troops that will try to jump up and tackle you. It's a little bit more challenging than the first, but it's not too bad. What makes this boss hard is his final phase, where you find out it's a Hydra, and he tries to murder you. During this section of the boss fight, the projectiles come out on the second half of the screen, giving you almost no time to react to it. A super long flamethrower stretches out that you will miss every time if you're not paying attention, and you can't even hit him unless you have Roundabout or you turn around and look back. Not to mention, if you accidentally hit one of the fireballs, it splits into the 4 projectiles and kills you. If his first 2 phases weren't incredibly laughable once you get used to them, he would have been the first on the list. But, alas, they are easy. So instead, number 1 on the list went to Dr. Call's Robot from... Number 1 on the list has to go to In first place, I had to put Oh, come on. Junkyard Jive's very own Dr. In first place, we have Dr. Call's Robot from... Dr. Call's Robot from Junkyard Jive is the... In first place, we have Dr. Call's Robot from Junkyard Jive, Inkwell Isle 3. This robot had to be number 1 on my list for so many reasons. It always keeps the screen busy like Cala Maria or Hilda Berg. It's infuriatingly difficult without any gimmicks whatsoever. And it's an airplane level, meaning most of the weapons and your choice is gone. You can't choose which weapons you want to use to defeat him. There's no chaser, there's no roundabout. You can't choose your favorite super art. Nothing. Nothing can save you. It's an incredibly infuriating level. And its key focal point is restrict where Cuphead can go. For instance, every time this head goes back and forth from the screen, one of those tiny bombs comes out. And every time they explode, they expand into that huge, devastating electric cloud. It almost forces you to think like a chess player. Where should I go? Where's the bomb gonna be? What are my next 3 moves? If this explodes, what's my out? And then this final phase of his takes that to a T. Not only must you navigate through this extremely precise wall of pellets, but there's also actual walls of electricity blocking you from progressing further. Sure, you can hit Y and try to navigate as the mini-plane, but if you do that, you'll never damage him, and you'll be in this boss fight all day. This is what an endurance fight should be. King Dice needs to take notes. No gimmicks attached, a consistent difficulty, and a brilliant level design makes this fight the hardest boss in all of Cuphead. At least it does in my opinion. But tell me what you think. Let me know what your top 5 hardest bosses are in the comment section below. Anyways, thank you everybody so much for watching. I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little weird. I've been sick, but I wanted to make sure I got this video out for you guys. In-depth analysis is returning next week, so be excited for that. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.